Okay, well, welcome to another chapter of CCH 360, um, where we take and look at healing modalities, some driven through the martial arts, some driven through healing arts. And we look for interviews and we look for interesting people that have strived to come forth with modalities that we may be able to share. Uh, we are actually three of us here today with Doc Johnsen and Pam Dye, who is here. She's a teacher of Tai Chi, Forever Tai Chi. And my name is Dan Tracy, and I teach part-time Tai Chi in Florida here in the Titusville area, and also back up in Wisconsin when back there martial arts in motion. Our interview today is with Doc Johnsen. Doc has had many years experience with yoga, and even he's taken a yoga experience to a Kundalini style of experience. So we're going to discuss some of that. This is our second interview with Doc. You can find our interviews on YouTube at CCH 360. We've got over 40 videos posted there and of various martial arts, healing arts, and modality of healing arts. So, Doc, I know you're in Northern California and you live there with your wife, Crystal. You have a farm there. So, and I believe if you look over your right or left shoulder, you might have Mount Shasta in the background. So, could you go ahead and describe what you have there? Over.
Well, we have a beautiful little 10-acre place that's nestled in the mountains. We're at the north rim of the Sacramento Valley. We're up high. And from here, if you look in the other direction, I'm looking right at Mount Shasta, who's just to the north of me. So you're looking south behind me. And we're able to grow our food here organically. We have chickens. We make our own electrical energy with solar and with wind. And we have our own spring. So we have all the water we need, and we use that to plant fruit trees. And in other words, try to improve the land where we are. We do our composting and try to live a life where we are able to do our practices, our spiritual practices, the things that to us make it worth living in nature. And we are so grateful to be in America where such a thing is possible, where people they can go out and they can create their own way and lifestyle that is beneficial to the land and to your neighbors.
You're actually at what elevation are you at out there?
About 3,000 feet.
Okay. And what elevation actually is Mount Shasta at? Do you know?
14,000 feet.
Wow. Wow.
We're in between Mount Lassen and Mount Shasta. So the way you're looking now, if you could see over the mountain behind us, Mount Lassen would be another 40 miles as the crow flies in the other direction. So we're right in between the two mountains that still have volcanic flow underneath.
Well, moving to your spiritual practices and your yoga, when did you actually start your yoga practice?
You asked me that last time, and it
I did.
did give me great thought. I was very curious myself when you asked because I'd never asked. But I have to go back and say it started back in Catholic military school. You see, as a Catholic, you have to start with Raj Yoga. Your mind in Catholicism, if you think something that's wrong to do and you enjoy, thinking about that, you might as well have committed the sin. So the first thing you have to do is control the mind and not make it think thoughts that would put you in a negative space so that you couldn't feel the energy of the positive around you.
Okay, and what techniques do you have worked for you well to?
First, it was military academy, marching, learning to get the body to do what you want it to do when you tell it, your will, the sergeant tells you to do it. after military school, and you train the mind to think, that's your Raj Yoga. Then you do your Hatha Yoga. When I then went into high school, I went on the swimming team. Now I'm doing pranayama. I'm doing breath control. We were at the Junior Olympics, and so as a swimmer, you get that sports mentality. You want to do the best, be the best you can be. Got into music. That led to an introduction to a Swami from Texas University Yoga Society, a Dr. Vishnubai from India. And he got me into, if you want to perfect your body, yoga is the way to strengthen the nerves. All this weightlifting and everything is great for the muscles, but it doesn't do much for the nerves. The Tai Chi, for instance, excellent way to develop nerve strength. You don't see these huge muscle bound people doing Tai Chi, but the people doing Tai Chi can hold a thought longer, can hold a pose longer, like a woman, that they can withstand the pain of childbirth that a man could not stand. He doesn't have the neural strength to do it. So once we got the nerves as the focus of concentration, I asked, how then do I develop my nerve strength? And so I took lessons with him on Hatha Yoga. I did a variety of yogas with the Kriya Yoga from the books of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi that taught us how to do the breath yoga then correctly. Okay, so I was on my way feeling good. When I went to California for music, I ran to the Kundalini people. So I just extended, wanting to be the best I could be. Experience where I was doing all kinds of yoga and trying to be the best I could be. And then I had my experience. Some call it a Kundalini experience. Some call it tongues of fire coming down on a person. The important thing is my outlook of becoming a successful music entertainer, rich and famous, was gone. What I wanted to do was live a life where I could improve and be the best person I could be. The temple of God I could make as clean and as electrically vibrant as I could make it, so that when I did my practices of prayer and meditation, I was able to enter into that state union with the Christ light, the Christ awareness, and find satisfaction in every aspect of life that pursues from that.
Would you say that the marching and the military and the music maybe brought out your mindfulness and then the breath
I
work
had
fell on top of that?
I have no doubt that's the reason why I was able to perform the exercises I was given later in life with such direct concentration and such openness to whatever truth was revealed.
Yeah, it seems like today we tend to run on automatic pilot too much and we don't spend enough time in mindfulness activities.
Well, it's the age to get rid of karmas. This is the age where if you've got karma with people and with things you need to do to make your spirit like, yes, I want to be this guy for eternity. I have been so close to God that I don't want to get any further from him than I am right now. And you like who you are. You like what you've done, and you can face the Lord with full openness, no restrictions at all. You're not ashamed or hiding or disappointed with yourself or anything. When you can get yoga to clean up your mind and body to that extent, and you can accept what everyone at death is going to have to do, and that is face an unfiltered reality. Remember, the mind of man is a filter. We only get that much of the electromagnetic spectrum. There are things going around us that we have no idea about. The gamma rays, the subatomic particle waves that create the dimensions where the spirit world is investigated by people like us.
What I think I heard was that you say that Kundalini yoga brings you closer to God, or is that a misinterpretation?
Kundalini yoga opens up your ability to accept the presence of God,
Hmm.
just like helping others opens up your ability to accept the presence of God. You're happy with what you've done. That would be like your Raj Yoga. You clean up your mental area. Then you clean up the physical area. Okay, that can be with exercise, can be with Tai Chi, can be with Kundalini, can be with diet. The goal is to get your nerves unblocked from tension or stress so that the natural electromagnetic energy that flows through everyone, pauper, rich, saint, or demon, that energy you want to have flow so that you can have access to all of it and can choose where your focus is going to grow.
Point you had said that women were neurologically better at doing this or accepting
Well,
the
let me explain what I observed, which is in the ashrams, when we had very strenuous yogic poses, part of which was to hold that pose for a
Mhm.
long time. I was able to hold it the longest, except for three women in the class who, when I gave up and gave out, along with all the other men, these three ladies were still able to hold the pose for quite some time. And my yoga teacher told me, he said, that's the thing. Women neurologically can focus and concentrate longer. They can hold a pose longer. Men may be able to lift more weight, but they can't hold that weight longer than a woman can hold whatever is the similar weight that she's holding. So the neural strength of women just to bear children has evolved to naturally be a stronger part of their anatomy than the male has. We are stronger, sure, but we can't last as long. I mean, I think every man and wife and husband know that.
I'm kind of ignorant when it comes to yoga. I mean, I just see, hot yoga, hatha yoga. How are they all different? And how are they all related to, or is there one that's better than the other? Or
Yes,
it's a
yes, definitely.
personal experience?
Definitely one's better than the other.
Ooh,
The one that's convenient, the one that you think is a good idea, the one that you want to gain more limberness and mobility. Here's the thing: tension brings the body in tight. The way to relieve tension is not with muscle exercise. That doesn't relieve tension. The way to relieve tension is with stretching. People get hung up in the word yoga. So let's just say stretching. One stretch is best when you take it to the point of pain. You go beyond the point of pain, worst thing you can do. You just do whatever your yoga is, Tai Chi, whatever you want to stretch just to the point where the body says, oh, that's far enough. Then you breathe in because the body remembers on the in breath and the body goes, oh, there's pain there. You go on with your movements, whatever your movements are. And the body holds a memory of every place that it was tight. And your body repairs itself as you feel good and you think happy thoughts. The body says, oh, this is fun. I want to repair and keep this really doing good. And then your body every day gets better and you get better. So, whatever stretching you do is for your nerves, whatever resistance you do is for the muscles, whatever running cardiovascular is for your heart. You want to clean out all of those things, especially the nerves, and you want to focus your mind on what you want to see grow in life. Because what you focus on in physics, it doesn't become real until the person focuses on that beam, and then the wave in physics suddenly becomes a particle. Without awareness, none of this has any mass.
Doc, would you compare the yoga that you've had to Qigong exercises?
I have to confess, I have no idea about Qigong exercises, but I will give you this hint. When I left the Kundalini ashram to have my experience with the Brotherhood, Source Brotherhood group, who were an offshoot from Yogi Bhajan, He took Father Yod and said, "You need to form your own group." Why? Because Father Yod had gone around the world and he had studied the yogas of the Essenes. And so he was combining Essene yoga techniques with the Kundalini techniques. And I had, of course, all my experience with Hatha yoga and pranayama and what have you. And putting these together is what gave the kind of yoga that you can really apply, Dan, to any kind of exercise you already do. But there are things that you can add to what you do that can make an immediate difference in how your body responds to it.
Yeah, I like Pam. I've only experienced one section of hot yoga due to a friend of Lester's who teaches hot yoga, and it was quite intense, especially for a first time attempt.
Yes, it's very intense yoga, a lot of deep breathing, pranayama breathing. Uh, it's tremendously strenuous and it takes you to your limits. And then when you're done, you drop out. I mean, nothing is forced, but they teach you how to really reach your limit in the nerve development aspects, and then where to focus with your brain and your electrical magnetic field to kind of trigger that what you would call a Kundalini experience or a near death experience, or a samadhi or an enlightenment experience, which is what all of the saints talk about. That is what so changes the apostles in the dungeon to go out and preach about Christ after he'd been crucified. It would take something pretty impressive to make any human that I know go from hiding in a dungeon when the demons are at the door and go out and face them with pure confidence. And that's the kind of experience I think every spiritual seeker is looking for. That kind of closeness with God where he's the champ. With him, nothing can hurt you, but you've got to know the techniques to appeal to the most positive self you can be, the most wonderful creature that you can create, because you have the option of living like that eternally once you accept who all eternal infinite awareness is. Once you accept you're just a part of infinite awareness and you merge with that. But you can't do that if you got regret. You can't do that if you're angry at somebody. You can't do that if you're disappointed with your life. See? So all of these yogas are meant to clean all of that up so that you can face what is flowing through you right now. There's nowhere to go, there's no state to reach, but be happy. And you will find that there is out there every bit of information. Study physics. It tells you everything you know. Every reaction has an equal reaction, equal and opposite reaction. Just physics. Forget religion. Forget who believes in this or that. Doesn't matter. Physics tells you the way life is. You'll find that every religion preaches pure physics. What you do has an equal and opposite reaction. You know, you can be at two places at once in your mind. Anything in your mind is faster than light. You can be to the outermost galaxy in your mind instantly. Yet light takes billions of years to get there. So all in physics has all of the clarification for what scripture and exercise is trying to get us to understand about our place here. And it's a wonderful experience if we would only focus on our connection to God instead of our connection to our problems.
Okay. You have mentioned in on your Facebook, and you just mentioned earlier here about um, near life,
Near death
near
experience.
near death experiences. So, are you using that as a comparison, or have you actually had an near death experience that you experienced?
Yes.
Okay, and so how did you pull all that together?
When you pray, you go into a state that you've achieved in your prayer. It gets you closer to God. every time you pray, you want to get a little closer. So let me tell you that the experience first to me was a dot in the middle of my head. The second time I had the experience was with the Kundalini ashram, which was a which was like an orgasm, but 7 times a human orgasm. It's like instead of just one area of your nerves opening up all at once with a human orgasm, you had the nerves in every fiber and organ and being of your body all open up at once. It was an experience that just, you might as well have been shot dead. You are totally gone. There's no difference between the outside and the inside. You are facing the Christ light. It's just you. You got no, you're not even there. You are just in the radiance. And it knocked Paul and off his donkey and put him blind. It sent the apostles out of the dungeon into the street. But it's that kind of an experience. Now, for the rest of your life, you want that experience again. So you apply what you've been taught, you continue to eat right, you continue to think right, you continue to help your fellows, you continue to live right. And then every time you get in that position where that experience is accessible to you, and you have the grace with being given that experience again, you are a little more confident of what you experienced the first time. You have a little more understanding, the ability to talk about what the hell happened to you, because you are not prepared for this at all. I've read so many books, had so much education, but when the actual experience of samadhi hits you, it totally convinces you there's a God and that you better act accordingly because you're going to have to face this sooner or later. It is your source. You come from it, you go back to it, and you spend the rest of the time trying to figure out how to get along with it.
You've experienced this. Do you?
Many times, over and over. I live like I live so that I can experience this as often as I'm able to withstand touching the face once again.
Is it dangerous? I mean, do you?
Yes,
How
in the
do you
Kundalini
dissociate
ashram,
yourself from that so that it doesn't become dangerous?
I'm lucky because I've worked for years at this. I have been guided by people who actually were masters of these things. They too experience them on a regular basis. And I was on my knees in church as a young man praying for these kind of experiences that Paul and that the apostles and that saints were having. I was aware that St. Francis levitated. I was aware of the possibility of merging with Christ and with God's presence. And so I have been fortunate enough and have applied what I learned to living a life that allows me to stay close to that divine presence. And my wife, I'm fortunate enough, is able to experience that with me because she too, she was raised by a couple of Indians in Grizzly Flats in the mountains. She's such a simple person and so good and never lies and is all organic and eating and cooking and the chickens love her. So I am so blessed to be able to live a life that is the first suggestion God made to man, which was live as a man and woman truthfully together in an organic garden and be with me with truth and light every day that you are on this earth. And by applying that first suggestion that God made to us, I find, the 10 commandments are now 10 promises. Everything the commandments say do, they now tell me that this is my life. I no longer kill. I no longer cheat. I no longer lie. I no longer steal. All those promises that God made the man who would live a life doing to every creature what he would want done to him if he was in the opposite space. I find that all the promises of God's blessings are true. I'm blessed more than I can imagine.
Well, not everybody can be in that kind of environment. I mean, your everyday person, lives in cities or whatever, is this their dream to get
Well,
to this type of?
so did I. I come from the city. I was the son of an FBI agent. I was totally sheltered in an environment of the upper middle class, and it takes a desire to want to get with nature, I think, really. When I realized that all the saints that I really admired really liked living camping, like living among the God's creation, not living among man's creation, but living among God's creation. So I steered my life. I went into the mountain for a time. I came back to the city. I had a band, had my therapy practice for 35 years. I worked on people. And then when I was ready to retire, I got myself, educated about how to live off the land, how to do all these things. And I put it together. And over the last 15 years, Crystal and I have been able to create from virgin land without destroying any of the beauty that was here. We've been able to make it prosper and feed us and all of the fellow creatures here. And it's just a wonderful life being in nature, praying to God every day, being responsible for your own, needs, and helping any. We live next to an Indian reservation, and I can't tell you the times we've been lucky enough to be able to have the ability to help our fellows. So we live in a world where we can create good karmas, let's say, that enable us to continue living like this. If we were arguing with each other all the time, if we were uh, critical of the way things were, if we were joyful that we have so much freedom, see, then we would lose all this. We know that we're here because God loves his nature to be happy. And we've seen the scientific studies. If you argue around plants, it stunts their growth. So God doesn't want here in nature people who are, nitpicking all the time. He wants people that are happy, that make the plants grow, that makes the animals happy. We don't kill the animals, we don't fence the animals. Everybody here is free to roam around as they like. And this, to me, was the only way I could have the kind of mental attitude that allowed me to face my creator on a regular
Yeah.
basis.
Doc, the name Maximus, can you describe how you got that?
The name I gave to my band, Maximus, was given to me by the yogi I was telling you about, Father Yod. He was an American. He was a Christian yogi. Uh, think of the monks and that kind of thing. That was what he was interested in. It was the Essene teachings of the monks in the monasteries for these special exercises that would put them in contact with the presence of the Almighty. Now, I was asked to join that group when I was in the Kundalini group because I had a book that I had drawn and written of poetry about being in the Kundalini ashram, and Father Yod had printed his book. So I said, "Go to Father Yod, see if you can get your book printed." I said, "Fine." Went to Father Yod. When I walked up to his group, I came in from the back. He had a restaurant in a big parking lot, and he had a stage and his band was playing. And I walked up to this group. It was so bright. The light coming from they were all dressed in white. All the energy was. I'd never actually seen auras on people, but the light was so bright coming from this group of individuals. And so I said, "Man, I got to learn about this." I slept in my van in their parking lot for like 3 nights, and I would get up and say, "Hey, anything I can do to help?" I said, "Well, we need a dishwasher." So I'd go wash dishes, and then they'd all go into their houses, and I'd go to my van and I'd sleep in my van for another night. Well, after 3 days, say, "Well, you're serious about this?" Said, "Yes, I am. I want to know what you people are doing because you obviously got something more powerful going on than what I'd seen on the other ashrams I'd been in." So I became the dishwasher, and and they had a restaurant, and that's how they kept the thing going. And I learned the techniques, the Ashtanga yogic techniques, that gave me the ability to, in those exercises, have my first enlightened experience. And when I was bringing a tray of dishes through the restaurant, I hear Maximus, and I froze. And I look over at the table, and there's Father and two of the ladies sitting there. And I look over at him, and he breaks out laughing and goes, "I told you he'd know his name." And I walked off, into the kitchen, going, "Oh shit, you're kidding me! I'm sorry. Oh darn, you're kidding me, Maximus." That. So yeah, I gave it to the band.
Well, Maximus sounds kind of maybe Greek or something in that era.
Circus
It's
Maximus, Roman.
fantastic, very special. Oh, I was going to ask you about, you talked about you were actually writing rhymes and poems back then, and I know you're very active now. So is that a hobby or is that therapy or both or
Oh,
you just want to share? I mean,
you
where
see,
does that come from?
a young man has to decide what tribe he's with. And I decided my tribe was the musicians, the artists. As I developed my ability to be creative, you can't quit. You can't stop. It's like an addiction. So I always have to have a way to release what I see around me. Now with the internet hookup, the world is right at your fingertips. So I'm not doing music anymore. There's no band here. No one plays music around here but me. And so, and drawing it. But the medium today is Facebook and the like. And when I write poems, they always then mix up the way the poem is arranged when you give them a writing, a text.
Yeah.
But if I write my poem the way I want it to appear, and then take a picture of it and then send out that picture, no one can mess with the way the poem's set up. So this gives me an outlet as an artist. When I did music about the way the universe sounds. What is the actual resonance of the water? What is the resonance of a photon or the quantum waves? And so you see, I'm no longer doing any other things. This is the medium. So this is the way I, as an artist, can vent that. It's a way for me to stay kind of in the game, and I really have nothing to offer anyone. Except the music that I have. And the poetry is something that I know a lot of. From what my conversation is online, a lot of people enjoy, and so I enjoy giving that as an artist because I have no other way to reach the community than through this medium right now.
Would you have a favorite one you'd like to recite for us, or is that a little bit too much?
This is one I just posted. We're living here. We want to bring balance while we're here. That's kind of what we're doing. But we did introduce cats. We don't want them to eat all the chipmunks and the squirrels. So here's a little poem on that. Bring
Okay.
balance. Squirrels get so friendly as pine cones fall, fat ones in the yard where cats hunt all. So we transfer harvest to a safer place. Cats don't hunt nuts. Danger is erased. Nuts for her pups. Squirrels love oak trees. Snow falls, she can nourish all with ease. Love your labors, you'll never work a day. When love is the reason, everything's okay. We live a simple life. Stress is minimized. Enough for everyone planning to survive. Application is hard. Knowing's not enough. Too many cats? Who will eat the nuts? Solution applied. We spayed our cats. Balance achieved. Avoid more spats. Solution applied. We spayed our cats. Well, either on Facebook or Messenger, just look up Doc Johnsen. Just remember that it's Johnsen.